Uh, the topic for today is retrograde planets. Okay. And now, retrograde planets, we've been learning in a very ordinary and a very generic way. But today it will be, a presentation that you've never heard before. Okay. Also, we'll talk about how these retrograde planets work in different houses. Okay, in the first house, in the second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, and all the way up till the 12th house. And then we'll also learn the most exciting part of this workshop is, or this masterclass is, where you will understand the modern version of retrograde planets versus the classics. Okay, so where all the classics, have actually famed all the benefic planets, like if you have, Venus retrograde or Mercury retrograde or Jupiter retrograde, these planets have been praised like anything in the classics, right? And in the real world, in the modern Kali Yuga, they have a very different and very, very difficult results. On the same time, all the malefics like Saturn and Mars, these planets have been really disgraced or really not been praised in the classics, but they have some fantastic results in the Kali Yuga. So we'll be talking about all these different aspects of what classics are saying and what is happening in the modern life, what is happening with the charts that you see every day. So that's something that, and also I'll take every planet one by one. I'll take Jupiter, I'll take Saturn, I'll take Mercury, I'll take Venus, right, Mars, and give you an explanation that when a particular planet is retrograde, what exactly happens. Okay, so these are the aspects that I'll be covering. There's no presentation, and honestly speaking, I also don't prepare my lectures. It just comes from within me all the time from my experience, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy. Also, we'll cover the difference between exalted retrograde and debilitated retrograde. Lot of debate on this in my personal groups also, in the groups of the advanced courses groups also. Oh, Guruji is saying that debilitated retro behaves like exalted, and an exalted retro behaves like debilitated. Oh, what is happening? No idea, and all that stuff. So we'll be also covering, I'll give you a deep explanation on how an exalted retrograde behaves. And it's not me who's going to explain, it's you who are going to explain me after listening to this lecture. Okay. So that's the agenda for the day. We have Atal Bihari Vajpayee's chart to be discussed, Narendra Modi's chart to be discussed, right? Someone who was not having a good married life, good professional life, and how retrograde planets are behaving, and someone who has a past life karma, past life analysis from the retrograde planets. All these things will be covered. And I request my Gurudev, Neem Karoli Babaji, Shiva, to give me potential and give me power to speak for 2 to 3 hours, right? And also give you potential to listen to me for next 2 hours. Okay, that's my prayer. Although a little bad throat, you can hear that my voice is a little heavy, but that's okay. Now, what is a retrograde planet? First thing first, retrograde planet is only a condition in a horoscope. Okay. Do not consider retrograde planets in totality. Okay. A horoscope is always seen in totality. What does it mean? For an example, if you put me a question in a group and say, Guruji, my Jupiter is retrograde in the sixth house. What can you tell me? What can you speak about it? I can speak about Jupiter. I can speak about retrogression. I can speak about sixth house. I can probably talk about the aspects of the Jupiter. But how it is giving you results in totality in a horoscope. I can only tell you if I see the entire horoscope. Simple. I can only tell you the results in detail if I also see its position in the Navamsha. If your wife is asking me that how is this Jupiter behaving, I have to check Navamsha. If your work is telling me that how is this Jupiter behaving, I must go to D10 and check. You see, you cannot expect a guru or a teacher or an astrologer to give you results in totality of a condition. Okay, first try and understand this thing. Whenever you send me a screenshot of a chart, by just sending me the Lagna Kundli or the D9, it is still 50% information, because still you have not given me opportunity to go and check different aspects, and I'm not looking at things in totality. It is just I'm giving you some conditional information. I hope I'm making some sense to you. Okay, so retrogression is something known as a condition in a chart where in the in technical terms it appears as if a planet is, you know, is crossing and is going behind, it's going backwards. Okay, that's what retrogression is all about. But it all depends upon the the movement of a planet from sun. That's the most important thing. And retrogression is always respected to sun, but since we are on the earth, and we also take it with respect to earth, and we call as if the retrograde planet is very close to the earth when it is retrograding. That's the second thing. And if you want to see how this not, happens, you can go on YouTube and you can see, the astronomical view of a planet getting retrogrades. Like it's like a hairpin. Planet moves like a hairpin, and when it is in a movement, it looks as if it is going away. It retrogrades. So there are certain degrees in which a planet gets retrograde. We'll talk about that. But prior to that, what exactly is the meaning of retrogression? I give you an example with very layman, kind of a Jyotish, very easy kind of a Jyotish. First thing is retrograde planet is a Rina. When I say Rina, it is a debt. It is a debt. A retrograde planet is extremely and very powerfully associated with your past life, especially when it comes to your Purva Janmas, right? Now, what exactly is the meaning? For an example, suppose you have a shop and you were supposed to go to your shop, and you are the one who opens the shop by himself in the morning, and you started from your home, you went, and when you were about to reach to your office or to your shop, you suddenly realized that you've forgotten the keys to open it. Happens at times, right? For an example, I have people in my life who have been telling me that they were in the flights and they were going to US, and when they reached airport, they realized that they have forgotten their passport and they have to rush back to get their passport. So I have people, in my life who've been saying me these things. Fantastic, right? Now, what are they doing? What will you do? You will have a different form of energy within yourself, and you will run back. You'll go back home to get the keys, right? And would want to go and open your shop, open your office, or would like not to miss your flight. Okay? At that time, you are retrograding. Whenever you want to understand how a planet is behaving, maybe combust, retrograde, exalted, debilitated, sitting in Kendra, Trikona, Dushtana, you have to empathize the graha. You have to empathize the planet. Means you think that you are that retrograding planet. What would you do in a given condition? What is happening to you when you have to go back and get something? What will happen to you? What is the situation in your mind? One thing that if you can note down or park it with the star in your notebook is that there is delay. Isn't that a delay? Simple principle. There is delay and there is a fight. Can you write these two words for me on your notebook? Everyone. There is a delay and there is a fight. Okay? There is. So you were supposed to open your office at 9. Now you might open it by 9:30. And if I call that person, where are you? And that person will say, Guruji, ek fight ho gayi hai. I said, what fight ho gayi hai? Meri chabi reh gayi ghar pe. So I'm going back. You use this word, ki ek fight ho gayi hai. Fight is like a challenge. Okay? It's like a challenge. And when you are going back to get that key and you are coming back to the office, during that quick effort, are you realizing how much loss is being given to the office? And imagine if you don't reach on time in the airport, you might lose your flight. And maybe if that flight is from Delhi to US or Mumbai to US, imagine the amount of losses. Imagine there was a Zoom meeting with a client to break a deal with your staff at 9 in the morning. You forget the keys, you're going back and you reach office at 9:45 and the client says, I'm done. I'm sorry, because the client was from China. In China, you cannot be late for a minute. The meeting is gone. They will not take your meeting. It's over. You cannot be late for 30 seconds. If people who work in China, they would know what I'm talking about. So, star, star, star. What? Delay. Star, star, star. There is a fight. And star, 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 that you are forced to realize. You're not realizing it, but you are forced to realize. Now, if we superimpose this thing in your horoscope, that means you forgot something in your previous life. Yes? You made some mistake in your previous life. Retrogression means you did not do something right in your previous life. Forgetting a key, forgetting a passport is not a right thing. Or you got overexcited in your last birth. How? Suppose you and me, we are going, and now this is a third star you have to write. We are going, and I am big fan of cars, sports cars, and I saw a very beautiful sports car. I just saw it standing in the knot place in the market. I went ahead and I have really an urge to see that again because I'm in love with the cars. So I turned back, took a circle, came back over again to see that car. A lot of you who were in the college, when see a beautiful girl, would have done this thing. In India, this is called as gedi. You come back and look at that beautiful girl again. Yeah, she was very beautiful. And usko saath wala bola, मोड़, वापस मोड़. Go back. We'll see her again. At that time also, they are retrograding because it is an obsessive behavior. It is an obsessive behavior to go back and see it. So the third star would be the retrograde planet will bring obsession. Are you guys with me? Can you understand? I'm trying to explain these things in a very simple way. I don't think that things can be more simpler than this with the real life examples. Very, very simple. So what did you write about retrograde planets? Number one, delay. Number two, fight. And number three, no realization of the obsessive behavior. Are you realizing what you're doing when you're going back to see that girl again? What benefit are you going to get from there? It's just an obsessive kind of a feeling. Let's go. I want to see this car. Oh, this is a yellow, Porsche. I just love it. This is a two-seater Porsche. I just want to go check the lights, check the label. Oh, what a steering. What a bumper. This and that. Obsessive behavior. Are you going to get it? No. Maybe you can dream of it, that one day I'll take it. So technically, there's no realization that you have actually wasted your time. You went back, you wasted your energy. But when you were doing this, come on, when you were doing this, when you were turning back, or when you were coming back from the office to get the keys, or when you were getting back to your home to get the passport, do you think you had an extra energy in you? Yes, some sort of extra energy. That, hey, I can't miss my flight. Oh, this is a beautiful girl, beautiful car. I'll go back and check. Of course, you'll have some extra energy in you. You're feeling down, but suddenly your eyes open up and you want to go back and see. And this extra energy is known as Cheshta Bal, that your Jyotish talks about for retrograde planets. Cheshta means you want to. You want to see it. You want to get your passport. You want to get the keys. And you are trying harder to get it. Trying your level best to get it as quickly as possible. Known as the Cheshta Bala. Are you with me when I'm saying all these things? Okay. And there is a fourth very, very important principle. Very important principle, and you all will agree to it. Everything that happens with a retrograde planet is sudden. Write a star and use this word sudden or suddenly in capitals, big capitals, suddenly. For an example, you suddenly realize that you're not carrying the passport. You suddenly realize that you're not carrying the keys. You suddenly realized that you have this beautiful girl or a beautiful car that you want to see it again. Suddenly it came in front of you. Suddenly. I mean, did you plan to see a beautiful car? No, but suddenly it came. So if you have two or three or four retrograde planets in your horoscope, you will always have many sudden events in your life. Many, many sudden events. And especially if you are running the Mahadasha of a particular planet which is retrograde, you can expect sudden events for which you are not mentally prepared. Are you mentally prepared that you've forgotten your passport? Are you mentally prepared that you've forgotten the keys? Are you mentally prepared that you've not locked the locker and you've left the home for 5 days and you have to come back and lock your locker and then go back and start the trip again? Are you mentally prepared for all these things? But this is this is a sudden realization. Extremely sudden realization. And that is, of course, what will happen in Rahu Ketu because they are 99% retrograde, 1% they are also stationary. We'll talk about someday when Rahu and Ketu are direct. They're not, retrograde. Rahu Ketu are not always retrograde. 1%. We'll talk about it someday. So that is why you see in your Rahu Mahadasha and your Ketu Mahadasha, many things will happen suddenly. Suddenly you lose your father, or suddenly you lose a relationship, suddenly there's a transformation. Today you were in the corporate reading a corporate economic book, and you see this beautiful book of Jyotish at the airport. You started reading, and suddenly it came in your mind that I'll study Jyotish. You see? And you know what? Saturn gets retrograde from 115 degrees to 245 degree away from sun. 115 डिग्री से लेकर 245 डिग्री तक Saturn gets retrograde. If I see this as the entire zodiac of 360-degree, this pi or this angle covers 37% of the zodiac sign, the entire zodiac. So that means 37% people in this universe who have Saturn retrograde in their chart. Wow. So if I'm doing 10 consultations a day, at least 4 consultations I will find when the Saturn is retrograde. If you want to understand about all these degrees and how the Vedic cosmology is working or the astronomy is working, there is a book that I would suggest you to go ahead and read is Surya Siddhanta. Surya Siddhanta may have some controversial topics. It's all mathematics, and they will tell you that from Surya, if Surya is here, to what angle a planet can be retrograde. For an example, Mars is retrograde between 164 degrees to 196 degrees from the sun. When Mars is transiting. For an example, Jupiter 130 degrees to 230 degrees. 100 degrees, an angle from Surya, Jupiter will be retrograde. Mercury and Venus, Mercury is very close to the sun. So from maximum up to 28 degrees, Mercury can be retrograde, and Venus maximum up to 48 degrees can be retrograde from the sun. You can read this. I mean, these are all mathematical terms and software calculated for you, but the book that helps you understand this is Surya Siddhanta. So 37% of the people will have Saturn retrograde, and 33% of the people of this universe will have Jupiter retrograde in their horoscopes. So if you're doing 10 consultations, at least 4 to 5 consultations in a day, you will find where at least you have Saturn or Jupiter retrograde. It's huge. It's a huge number. Maybe at times in a day, I get probably all 9 charts, all 10 charts, excuse me, retrograde. Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and whatnot. And in a year also, you see many transits where we have Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury getting retrograde oftenly. So 4 points you've written now. 1, delay. Number 2, what was number 2? Come on. Number 1 is delay. Number 2, there's a fight. Number 3, no realization of the obsessive behavior. Okay? And number 4, what is number 4? Sudden events. Now with this, I will make you learn some basic sense of Jyotish. Suppose you have your 10th Lord retrograde. Okay? So the principle, I'll tell you very, very basic principle of Jyotish. Planets that are Lord of Kendras, 1, 4, 7, 10 house, sitting in the Kendra or Trikona, they are good for you many times. But there are some principles of benefics and malefics. But on the same time, if the planet is in the Dushtana 6, 8, and 12, they are not making things easy for you. That's some basic principle of Jyotish. Now I give you a small example. Very small. I'll take a benefic ground. Let me take Venus. Venus is suppose the lord of your 10th house in a horoscope. And it is sitting in the 5th house. It is the lord of the 10th house. And it is sitting in the 5th house. And it is retrograde. Or let me give you some better example. Suppose Venus is the lord of the 10th house and is sitting in the Lagna. Lagna itself. Okay? So it is the lord of the Kendra, sitting in the Kendra, in the Lagna, retrograde. You know what will happen with this person? I'll apply these 4 principles on this person. Entire work, entire office, entire business, entire job will be going good. Will be going good. But he's fighting all the time. He's not realizing it, that it is going good. And he's coming to me and telling me, Navneet sir, nothing is working good in my life. Nothing is good. Nothing is good. Although everything is good, but he would say nothing is good. Nothing is good. It's not working. So if something good is happening with the Karak Tattva of that planet and the house lordships of that planet, you are not realizing good. You're not realizing it good. So two things. You have to check the lordship of the retrograde planet. That is where the effect is happening maximum and where the retrograde planet is sitting. Point number 5. Check that the retrograde planet is lord of which houses and check the position of the retrograde planet. You will, if the planet is doing good to you, you will not realize it. There's no realization. On the same time, if this planet is sitting in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house from the 10th, okay? Suppose Venus sits in the 9th house. Now, from the 10th house, it is 12th. That means this Venus will not do good because from the workplace, it is sitting in the 12th house. We're looking at the work. We're not looking at the Lagna. For Lagna, it is very good. It is in the 9th house, but you have no realization of your spirituality. But for the 10th house, for the work, it is in 12th from the 10th house. It is in the 9th house. Nothing is going good in your office. Your colleague, your work, your job, your business is not helping you. And you have no realization. You're getting losses every day. You're getting hits every day. You have no realization. Because technically, a retrograde planet is giving you no realization either ways. If the planet is benefiting you, there is no realization. If the planet is harming you, there is no realization. There's no realization. This is the meaning of a retrograde planet. That technically there is going to be a fight, and I'll give you a small example with this. A very small example. Before I go to many charts, I'll just stop you here and show you a chart, and you have to keep these 5 6 principles in your mind, and you have to speak what you look at this chart and what you make out of it. So I'll repeat these 5 things. Okay. Late, delay. Okay. Number 2, there is no realization of the obsessive behavior. Okay. Number 3, sudden events. Okay. And what was the other one? Okay. So you all wrote it down. Okay. There's a fight all the time. There's a struggle and a fight. And the 5th thing is you have to check the lordship of that retrograde planet and the placement where it is sitting. Now I'm going to remove the name of that person and I'm going to give you a small task here. Only then I can go ahead. इससे पहले मैं आगे नहीं जा सकता हूं. I hope you all can see the screen. Okay? Now, did you see there are 3 retrograde planets in this horoscope? We have Saturn retrograde, very close Jupiter retrograde, okay, and we have Mercury retrograde. 3 close planets. Okay, I will write the points here. I'll write the points here one by one. So the first thing is, where is the fight happening? 4th house. Okay, 4th house is the fight. I'll stop you here. Fourth house is the fight. I'm not talking about lordships and nothing. If you ask me, if you ask this person, should you be staying in India or should you be going abroad? Right? What should be the answer? That there's going to be fight on your motherland. You see, in 37% of the charts that I see where planets are retrograde in the fourth house, sixth house, 10th house, third house, people are abroad. People are abroad. They are away from their natal work, abroad, going away, especially if it is in the fourth house. In the fourth house, there is a fight between motherland, with the motherland and with the mother. With the mother. With the mother. And I asked this person, do you have any problems with the mother? Is that I do not gel with the mother. I don't gel. She misbehaves with me, or probably he is obsessive. He might misbehave. Hello? The fourth house, Jupiter. So the fight is happening in the fourth house. So the fight will not stop after marriage as well. Do you see that Jupiter is the lord of the seventh house? It is Badak, of course, but it is also the lord of the 10th house, sitting in the Kendra itself. And you know what was the complaint of his wife? His wife said that I do a lot for him. His wife has given him money for the business, and his wife has taken the money from her mother. And you know, these people are doing a lot for him. And you know what was he said? He did not like the interference of her mother-in-law in his family, and he doesn't realize what his wife has done for him. Are you getting it? So why did I say this thing? Why? Because Jupiter is the lord of the seventh house, marriage. Obsessed with the wife's behavior and not realizing the good of the wife. Not realizing at all. No realization. Fight. So the biggest learning of the day when it comes to retrograde planets is no realization with respect to that particular significations and the lordships. No realization pertaining to the significations of the graha and the lordships of the planet. No realization. If it is good, no realization. If it is happening bad and I'm losing lakhs and lakhs of money, there's no realization that I'm losing money. There's no realization I'm wasting my time to see that girl once again. There is no realization. That's the crux. That's the story of a retrograde planet. And when you have this retrograde planet, you have a Rina associated with a house which is before the house in which the retrograde planet is. Why? Whenever a planet is retrograde, it has past life karmas associated with it, and that past life karma associated is also related to the previous house, related to the previous house. So if a planet is retrograde in the fourth house, okay, which is the house previous to the fourth house? Third house? The third house? Where is the planet going when it is retrograde? It is going from the fourth house to the third house. That means when you were born, you left something in the third house, you came in the fourth house, and now you're going back to the third house. And then you took a birth. You were in the fourth house, but you missed something in the third house. You forgot something in the third house. That is why from the fourth, you are looking at the third and going behind it. That's the principle with Rahu as well. That some karma is pending to the house which is behind you. Which is behind you. So that means if you have planet in the fourth house retrograde, some karma is pending with your siblings, with your sisters, with your brothers. If you have it in the seventh house, there's some karma pending related to the sixth house. If it is in the sixth house retrogression, there is some karma which you have a rina on you from the fifth house, your children. If it is in the third house, you have some rina from the second house. You must realize what your family is doing with you when you have these retrograde planets in the third house. You must realize what your siblings have done for you when you have it in the fourth house. If it have it in the fifth house, you must realize what your mother has done it for you. Because it was going back to get something from that house. This is Rina on you. Whenever I check a retrograde planet, I must check a bhava, a house prior to it. And the classics also say one thing, that if a planet is retrograde between 0 to 10 degrees, this is known as kutil. This is the motion of a planet known as kutil motion. Because the planet was falling into the previous house. And if the planet is at 29 degrees, that means the planet has just fallen. Has just fallen. For an example, suppose in this chart, the Saturn was here, retrograde, at 28 degrees or 29 degrees. That means the Saturn has just fallen from the fourth house to the third house at the time of the birth. Just fallen. Because it was here maybe 4 or 5 days ago when it was retrograde and you were not born, the Saturn was falling from the fourth house to the third house. And specifically when you have such kind of degrees, or you have the Saturn at probably 2 degrees in this house, again it is trying to fall. This is fallen in this house, and such particular placements are peculiar. They are peculiar. That means there are very strong karmas of the past life with the mother or with the siblings. When the planet is about to fall, or when the planet has fallen at the time of your birth? Are you clear with what I'm saying? They are peculiar degrees. They are peculiar. You listen to it again, Sirat, you will find it what is fallen. Fallen degrees are when you are trying to fall from one house to another in the retrograde motion. You are about to fall when you are at 2, 3, 4 degrees. You are going back, so you might fall in the other house. So there is Rina with your mother and there is Rina with your siblings. It becomes a severe debt. That is the right word. You have to understand, these concepts. Now, if you have to counsel this person, what will you tell him? What will you tell him? That look, he's saying, oh, my married life is pathetic, she's not good, she's always talking to her mother, and I don't believe in that interference, and I don't like what she's doing, and blah, 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 this, that. But when you look at his chart, you know that he doesn't have any realization for the good that his wife is doing. He has no realization. Suppose if his Jupiter was here, come on, tell me. If his Jupiter was here, now it is 12th from the 7th. From the 7th house, it is 12th. Then you know what would have been the statement of this person? My wife is all good, she's fantastic, she's doing okay. Why? Why? Because internally, I know that the wife is doing bad to him, but he has no realization. He has no realization that the wife is doing bad to him. Did you understand how the retrograde planets are working? Now imagine a planet is exalted and that exalted planet has no realization. Hello? If you are very knowledgeable, you're very good, you're aware of everything, but you have no realization that you are very knowledgeable, you're very good, how will you behave like? A foolish fellow? And imagine that you don't know anything. You imagine you don't know anything and you don't realize that you don't know anything. Under those circumstances, you can perform better. You can even walk on the mines when you don't know I don't know what is a mine. I don't know how it blasts. You don't realize it even. You can walk on the mine. And you may survive even. Imagine that you are foolish. Imagine you have no idea about anything in your life in that particular house and you are retrograde. You have no realization. But imagine you know everything about that particular area of life and you have no realization and you are fighting all the time. Did I answer you people? The exalted retrogression and debilitated retrogression. Why do I say Jupiter exalted and retrograde? You see, Jupiter exalted and retrograde means, what is the meaning of Jupiter exalted and retrograde? It means you're very spiritual, you know what is right, you know what is wrong, you're a good teacher, you're a good learner, you have wisdom, but you're not realizing it. When you have everything and you don't realize, we have a child, super strong, he doesn't believe he's strong. How will you feel? How will you feel? And what is the biggest message of this Jupiter retrograde exalted? Is to realize it in this birth, to realize it. And that is why people in their midlives start realizing spirituality and Jyotisha. And when they start working on it, then they start getting good results in their life. That means now their karma is getting settled. Earlier, they have no idea about spirituality, Jyotisha, this, that. No idea. मालूम ही नहीं उनको. वो retrograde इसलिए हुआ कि वो realize कर सके. They will get such incidents in their life that will make them realize it. They have no realization. And it is very important, point number 6, to have relationship of these retrograde planets with benefics and even natural benefics. Natural benefics are the Kendra and Trikona lords. Naisargic benefics. But also they should have relationship with benefics. Like, if Saturn is retrograde, it should have, if it has some relationship with Lagna Lord or with Jupiter or with Moon or with Venus, the natural benefics, the Mercury, they will give good results eventually. I'll tell you how. I'll come to that. So until now, have you understood step by step what I'm trying to tell you? Have you understood? Now you have little bit of idea that if a planet is retrograde, it will cause delay, it will cause a fight, it will cause obsessive behavior, and last but not least, the fourth point, sudden. It will create some sudden events in your life. Why a planet is retrograde? Why? You understood what is retrogression. What is he doing? Why? This I have answered in many of my YouTube videos, but in a very layman term. Because it is a great indication of your past life burden. It is a great indication. Either you have this burden from your gurus, from your teachers, completely dependent on the lordships of the graha. If I might ask you, for this person, he has his burden coming from Jupiter, which is like Guru at the first place when it comes to be a planet. Also the 7th Lord, wife. The 10th Lord, father. The Saturn is also retrograde. 9th Lord again coming from some Guru. The 8th Lord, in-laws. The 8th house is house of in-laws, extended family. So he has lot of karmic settlements in his life. Rina from the past, coming from wife, extended family, father, and his workplace. And you know what is the story of his life? The story of his life is that his wife, his mother-in-law, has invested in his business, although he is extremely hardworking person. I will give you a star point whenever Jupiter is retrograde. These people have great problem solving ability. याद रखना, ये मेरा राज ज्योतिष है. And especially these lines have come from VP Goyalji. He's done an exuberant job on this. If a planet is there and Jupiter is retrograde, it has great problem solving ability. Absolutely fantastic problem solving ability. But on the same time, you have Rina from the house lordships and where it is sitting. And especially if the song of that planet is at 15, 16 degrees, then it is pertaining to that house and also to the previous house. Very, very strong if it is in the falling down degree or falling degree, peculiar degrees. So when he came to me, he said that Guruji, I don't gel well with my mother. I don't gel well with my brother. Fourth house, third house. My wife is dominating and talking to my mother-in-law whole day, taking all the suggestions, sponsoring money and everything. And I'm not satisfied with my married life. Although I have a lot of money and I'm well settled, I'm doing this. My wife is with this, but nothing is working good in my life. I'm very tensed. I'm very sad from inside. You see, everything is there. Everything is there. Getting work, getting business, but is he satisfied? Is he satisfied? The answer is no. The answer is no. Not feeling or not feeling anubhuti or realization. That's the biggest problem. Now I'm going to teach you one of the most powerful findings of my life. I need 5 minutes of your life attentively, seriously. Open your ears and open your eyes and ears and just listen to me very carefully. Make the notes. You see, Surya is your status. Whenever you have very good status, Surya is well placed. You might have a lot of money, but no status. Surya can be debilitated. You know, a debilitated Surya in the Kendra can give you money, but no status. याद रखना ये बात. And that status can be temporary if your Surya is weak in your horoscope, not a permanent. If a planet is retrograde and is in front of Surya, and if a planet is retrograde and is behind the Surya, there is a difference. If a planet is retrograde and it is in front of the Surya, it means it is going towards the Surya. Yes. Retrograde is reverse. Surya is like going like this. So this planet is coming towards the Surya. It is protecting Surya. And it is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And if a planet is going away from the Surya and retrograde, you will never have a permanent status in your life. If a planet which is retrograde and going towards the Surya will give you permanent status from your first breath to the last breath. In your life. If it is a benefic, fantastic. If it is a malefic, it will give you status with struggle. If it is malefic, Saturn, Mars, it will give you status with struggle. If it is Mercury, Venus, it will give you status like this. And that status will be for the long, long time in your life. It's not about conjunct. Both the conditions are conjunct. You have to listen to me carefully. You have to check that planet is in front of the Surya or it is behind the Surya. Behind the Surya, retrograde, combust is pathetic. In front of the Surya, retrograde and combust is fantastic. Because what is combustion? Combustion, I have a master class on combustion for you people. I want to speak 2 hours on combustion. I have done research. I have 20 charts with me on combustion. And I will bring your goosebumps when I talk about combustion, how combustion has made, given super successes in life. Combustion, I give you a hint, is only physical disappearance. It's only physical disappearance, not the mental disappearance. Suppose this is a Raja and राजा के पास जाके आप बैठ गए तो राजा दिख रहा है, आप नहीं दिख रहे सबको, लेकिन आपका ज्ञान is actually helping that Raja. He needs people around him and they are very important people. Now you have to check whether you are strengthening the Raja or you are leaving away the Raja. I promise you to give a masterclass on combust planets and you will be astonished to see that how this research is working. So, a planet coming close to the Surya is actually protecting the Surya retrograde and is benefiting the Surya and Surya status. So this planet has capability to give you permanent status. I'll show you a chart. I'll show you a chart here. Look at the chart of our Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, late Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Can you tell me what is happening to this Mercury here? Although Mercury can also give you the results of the 8th house, but it is on the Dagda Rashi. He was born on the Chaturdashi Tithi. So again, the opposite house is the Dagda. Mercury goes back here again. And is this Mercury going towards the Surya? Is it going towards the Surya? Surya 10 degree, Mercury 15 degree 41. That means Mercury is going towards the Surya. It's going this way. Surya is going this way. So this Mercury is going towards the Surya and Jupiter is also going towards the Surya. The two planets are going towards, because Jupiter is behind but not retrograde. That means Jupiter is also protecting the Surya. And also Mercury is in front and going towards the Surya. This is a Raj Yoga that a retrograde planet can create by protecting the status of that person. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, this is the reason of a retrograde Mercury combust giving a Raj Yoga and making a person with highest status the Prime Minister, and from his childhood, from his college, everywhere he was the head of the college, head of the university, head of his sanstha, and then eventually head and became the Prime Minister of the country. Permanent status. And after he's gone, still has a permanent status. So if you have a benefic Mercury or Venus going towards the Surya within the 10 degrees, this person will have permanent status in his life. You need not worry about his career. He will attain the status in his life. Blank shot, clear shot, a clear prediction. But if it is behind the Surya and going away from the Surya, you will lack in status. And I was not satisfied. This principle can work on one chart. But do you think this principle works? Narendra Modi ji's chart is a debate whether he has a Tula Lagna or he has a Scorpio Lagna. My students also debate on it. I respect all the views, but according to me, he's Tula Lagna. On some birth time rectifications we have done. So if you see Narendra Modi ji's chart, what is happening here? What is happening here? Is this Mercury doing what here? What is this Mercury doing? 0 to 35, Mercury going away. Is this Mercury going away or coming toward the Surya? Come on. Towards the Surya. Or it is going away? Coming towards the Surya. It is coming towards the Surya and it is protecting the Surya. Because, Surya, it's 35 and it is 47 retrograde coming back towards the Surya. Oh, isn't that the same status? Coming back to Surya, giving him the status, the Mercury, and Ketu is also coming back. So the second Prime Minister with the same combination. It is a strong combination. If you have a benefic going towards your sun, let me tell you, it's going to give you a Raj Yoga. It is going to protect your status, protect your sun. It is going to give you good yogas. It can give you a tenure of 15 years, 20 years. From Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, you become atom bomb Vajpayee, take major decisions about the country, win, victories, increase the status of your nation. That's how, these retrograde planets are working. But do you think these people have realizations about their status? What are they doing? I don't want to comment. Are there any realizations? Is there an obsessive behavior? Are there any sudden decisions being taken? I don't want to speak on it. You know all. Sudden decision? No realization? Obsessive behavior? But I think all these things are required to reach to this level. Isn't? Everyone has done it. Suddenly, Atal Bihari Vajpayee said, Operation Vijay, finish it off. Attack. Otherwise, if there would have been a weak Prime Minister of the country, he would have said, Dekhte hain, karte hain. By that time, the Pakistanis would have come a lot of inside. He did not allow. Certain decisions. No realization. At times, no realization is very good if you want to be in the part of celibacy. You can check Osho's chart where Jupiter is retrograde. There's no realization in the third house. There's no realization. He's taking it. I don't want anything. Sab chhod do. Koi rishte nahi hote. Koi naate nahi hote. Kuch nahi hota. And that is what Bhagwan Osho is trying to tell all the time. And this thing made him a Bhagwan. And that's the way of moksha, that there is no realization. You don't realize what is good, what is bad. See, no realization, I never said about good. I said about the bad also. No realization of what is happening good, no realization of what is happening bad is equal to moksha. When you start realizing it, you start settling karma. So when I counseled this person, I said, hey, look, you have to go back and serve your mother, your brother, stay with your wife, respect your mother-in-law, so that I can realize him and I can settle his karma so that in the next life he's not born with the retrograde planets. So retrograde planet Mahadasha will make you do lot of effort, lot of sudden events, lot of hard works pertaining to the lordship of that planet. Wherever that planet is the lord, those houses will have lot of struggle and lot of fight in the Mahadasha of that planet. Point number 7. Suppose the 6th lord is in the 8th house and it is retrograde. Lot of diseases, lot of enemies, but no realization. Not realizing it. He's saying, fine, सब ठीक चल रहा है, सब ठीक है, all good, all good. Now I've written some points for you people. I'll take all 5 planets retrograde one by one. What classics have to say and what modern life, realizations. Mercury. When you open classics, you open Vyasa Astro, you open Chintamani, you open Varamira, you open all these things. You know what they talk about Mercury? Mercury retrograde give luxuries, give good business, they give good financial position, extra effort in religious activities, happiness from family. And they've just written one thing, that the 6th house Mercury retrograde can give you fear from the enemies. This is what definition given in the classics. But what is the modern definition of Mercury retrograde? First thing, what is Mercury? Mercury is the significator of speech, intelligence. So it will give you extra capability. A retrograde Mercury will give you extra capability. It can give you ability to speak a lot, but there are strong chances that you are unable to express yourself. So people who have retrograde Mercury, they may not be able to express their things to close ones. Only very few people they will have in their life जिनको वो express कर सकते हैं. Why? There is a fight between their own communication. On the same time, retrograde Mercury can make a person super intelligent if associated with benefics, and a super foolish person if it has aspects or combinations with malefics. So if it is associated with benefics, Jupiter aspecting it, or you have Moon, fantastic, good. But if you have a Saturn with it, or Saturn aspecting it, it is not good. Even Surya is a mild malefic. Even Surya aspecting. A lot of people call about Buddha-Aditya Yoga, Buddha-Aditya Yoga. You have to see if the Mercury is going towards the Surya. Only then the Buddha-Aditya Yoga is a real yoga. If a Mercury is retrograde, it is even more powerful than Buddha-Aditya Yoga. Much more powerful. We'll talk about this when we do combust planets. We'll talk about this when we, do Neech Bhang Yoga and Uch Bhang Yoga. I'll teach you everything. Neech Bhang Yoga and Uch Bhang Yoga also. जैसे नीचता भंग होती है वैसे उच्चता भी भंग होती है. We'll talk about all these advanced concepts. These are my research going on behind the scenes. What about the second planet, which is Venus? Classic says that Venus is honor from the king, and Venus is, you hold a very high position if Venus is retrograde, and You are the lover of music and kala and dance and romance and perfumes when the Venus is retrograde. That's what classics are saying. What is the modern interpretation of Venus being retrograde? It is karka of love and sexual life. Sex is Mars, but the significator of sexual life is Venus. ये बात याद रखिएगा. The capability of sex is coming from Mars, but sexual life is coming from Venus. So when the Venus is retrograde, it is obsessive, it is not thinking, and you may have very strange behaviors in your sexual activities. Having Venus retrograde and not satisfied. Not satisfied. Venus is also social standings. So you can be very strained in social standings if you have aspects or relations with malefics. But if you have it with benefics, it is fine. That is why when Venus is retrograde and with Ketu, maybe in any of your divisional charts, maybe especially in Navamsha or in the Lagna, you are not satisfied with your love and romance and physicality or sexual activities with your spouse. Never, never satisfied. If it is associated with malefics like Saturn and Mars, it may not give you luxuries of life, or it will give you luxuries of life with a lot of struggle. But if it is with benefics, they will give you, a lot of luxuries of life. Lot of luxuries of life. Jupiter. So Jupiter retrograde classics are saying that, it's all around prosperity, gain from wife, children, friendship with the king, very, very spiritual. That's what classics are talking about with Jupiter retrograde. Modern. What is modern? What is Kali Yuga? Jupiter, if you have Jupiter retrograde in your chart, these people would love to give advices to everyone. So they have little obsessive behavior. They want to tell everyone, ऐसे होता है, ऐसे होता है, ऐसे होता है, ऐसे होता है. Very, very spiritual from inside, may not look very spiritual from outside. Great crisis managers. But Jupiter in the 7th house retrograde is never good. Or if it is the Lord of the 7th house, Jupiter, or if it is in the 7th house, Jupiter retrograde, it can involve in lot of sexual relationships. Not good. But if it is associated with the benefic, that is gone. But if it is associated with malefics, that is amplified. It can give you children. Jupiter retrograde can always give you children. But on the same time, it can give you children through IVF, IUI, or there will be some strange obsessive behavior in your children because Jupiter is karka of your children as well. People having Jupiter retrograde, you ask them, did you find? Now, this guy that I'm talking about, he had 2 children. Both the children have come from the IVF, and the wife had a debilitated Jupiter. So both the conditions were met. His Jupiter retrograde, karka of children as well, in the 4th house. And his wife had Jupiter debilitated in the 5th house. They got the children, but they got it through an IVF. But if there would have been a benefic, like Jupiter ke saath Saturn na hota, then things would have been different. But now he has Saturn with the Jupiter in the 4th house, the chart I show you. So it stamps it that there'll be some struggle, there'll be some sort of problems. If you have a Jupiter retrograde, your husband will give you some different behaviors. He will have some obsessive, kind of non-realizing behavior if you have Jupiter as a retrograde. Because Jupiter is karka of your husband. Similarly, Venus is retrograde, maybe your wife has some obsessive kind of non-realizing behavior, for sure. Mars. So all these malefic planets are really cursed. They say that, Mars retrograde can give you fear, loss of position, loss of happiness, you know, loss from the thieves. It can be harmful. These are what classics are saying. Not true in today's world. Not true. Not true. The modern interpretation of Mars retrograde is that Mars is power and authority. And since it gives you Cheshta Bala, so it is going to give you extra power and extra authority. And if that is aspected by Jupiter or a benefic graha or associated with the benefic graha, that extra authority and extra power will go in right direction. And if it is with malefics, that extra power and that extra authority will go in some negative or criminal kind of activities. That's the definition. Mars is also power for sexual activities. And I'm very peculiar with Mars retrograde in female charts. Now think about what I said. Mars retrograde in female charts can make a 40-year-old woman to get attracted to an 18-year-old or a 25-year-old. Mars retrograde in a female chart. If with Jupiter, if with Moon, this yoga is stamped with benefics. But if it is with malefics, with Saturn, maybe Rahu, then the old relationships will be fine. But whenever you find a female attracted towards young, or someone who's younger to her age, the Mars has to be conjunct with some benefics, but retrograde, a powerful Mars. So that is why the modern things have gone little here and there. Saturn, failures all around, harassment, harm from brother, sister, you have to leave the village, not fit for the country. This is what Saturn retrograde is in the classics. Modern, Saturn is the most hardworking workaholic planet. And when retrograde, Saturn does not realize how much how much hard work he's done. So you will see these people who have Saturn retrograde at the 2 in the night also they are messaging, they are working all the night. They don't realize how much hard work they are doing. They have no realization. No idea about their hard work in life. No idea. Which is good, which makes them workaholic and with no idea. Saturn is like a tapasvi. Under benefic relationship of retrograde Saturn can give them deep thinking. You see, all these labors that you see with Saturn retrograde, they are deep thinkers. They're very deep thinkers. They will, when they look at the home, they look at the construction, they'll say, no, aise nahi, aise hoga, this will be like this will be like this. They're very deep thinkers. But if it is with malefics, then they will be like Saturn and Mars together. Two malefics. Saturn is retrograde there, or Saturn is aspected by Surya. There, it can be very corporate kind of a culture. You will see Saturn, Mars together, Saturn and Surya together, very successful in the corporate because they are deep thinkers and they're in that rat race. They'll do good, but the things may not be morally right. Saturn retrograde can do such things that no other can do it. No other planet can do it. So we've done Saturn, we've done Mars, we've done Mercury, we've done Jupiter, and we've done Venus retrograde. We've done how this retrograde works. And we have also done the exalted retrograde planet and the debilitated retrograde planet.